This program is part of American Graduate. Let's make it happen. A public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Welcome to American Graduate Pathways to Success. I'm Fred Nahat. The American Graduate Initiative is a national public media commitment to help communities find solutions to the high school dropout crisis and help students everywhere obtain their high school diploma. While the graduation rate in Michigan is improving, we are still below the national average, and that disparity widens even further when you factor in conditions like income, gender, and ethnicity. Now, the problems are complex and the answers aren't simple, but there are many unique programs and dedicated individuals that are working to improve a student's chance at success. And that's exactly what organizations like Rack It Up are doing in their communities, creating a safe, reliable neighborhood program that encourages academics through the power of athletics.
And I've got pictures and video of you all from when you were in 5th grade that you are gonna love. Rack It Up Detroit is an out-of-school youth development program that uses the sport of squash as a way of engaging kids. We teach the sport as an entry point into their lives.
Rack it up, Darian. Good.
They are committing to 3 days a week, about 3 hours each of those days. They'll spend about half their time in the classroom working on homework and inside our literacy program.
Grab the book that you selected from the library. You can grab a beanbag and find somewhere to read, or you can sit in a circle.
And they'll spend about half their time on the squash court.
Rack it up.
Those hours here, not only do they help me with school or squash, but it's like something new every day once you walk in through those doors.
We had a notion early on that being community-based, focused in a small set of neighborhoods, tied to neighborhood schools, would reinforce what we were trying to do, which is we were ultimately trying to build community.
So we'll probably get started in like 2 or 3 more minutes.
It's not just about the squash and the game. It's about the education and showing the kids something different.
Community service projects, book club, anthology work. So that's a little bit of what we're doing today in the classroom.
In the 5th grade when I came, I started off with a low GPA, so a 2.5. But as the years went by, it went up, so it went up to a 3.0, and then eventually, at the end of my last year, which was 8th grade in middle school, I graduated with a 4.0.
We're going to start off with our warm-up.
Because the program is not just one thing, it's holistic, to be able to see students mature and make good choices, maybe that they wouldn't have made a year ago, to see them take on leadership roles within the program when maybe they were shy or unsure of themselves initially. So you ready for tomorrow, Chicago?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You did hear that all of you are in, right?
Yeah.
You came off the wait list.
Well, now we did.
Yeah.
Wait, why
So
am I
everybody came off the wait list. What's it like to be coaching your brother when he's in a group of other kids?
My role model was Mr. Derrick when I was little, so I said, okay, I wanted to do this because I want to be like Mr. Derrick when I grow up.
I'm part of something very inspiring. I know that I'm going to get to see people that I really love, whether it's our staff or our volunteers, and certainly our kids. Your sister Armani is heading off to Chicago this weekend. How do you think she's going to do?
Mr. Derrick is kind of like family to me and a second father because he helped me become a great squash player and he educated me in academics.
Forehand grip, forehand grip. Pretend you're shaking hands with your racket.
My being in their lives is important, that it matters. Knowing that I'm also giving other people that opportunity to have meaning and purpose, I wouldn't trade it. I couldn't imagine doing something else.
Rack It Up is one neighborhood solution to keeping kids engaged in their education. However, we must address the problems in the classroom and the school systems first. My Week anchor, Christy McDonald, sat down with Tanya Allen of the Skillman Foundation and Charlonda Buckman of Detroit Parent Network for a passionate discussion about projects and plans to improve schools in Detroit, as well as the need for Detroit Education Commission, stronger classrooms, and education support.
One of the big topics of conversation here at the Mackinac Policy Conference, of course, is education, and not just statewide, but specifically talking about the city of Detroit, Detroit Public Schools, and what the system is going to, what the future of the system really is going to be. And joining me now to talk about this is Tanya Allen. She's the CEO of the Skillman Foundation, and Charlonda Buckman. She's the executive director of the Detroit Parent Network. It's good to see both of you here up on Mackinac Island.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm going to start with you, Tanya, because you had a session earlier on in the week talking about what the findings were of the Coalition for the Future of Detroit School Children. And it really was a tough task that you were given. The group was given 100 days and 36 people to come up with some kind of comprehensive solution.
Right, and what we try to do is have these disparate and ideological views come together and then look at the problem, look at the data together, bring their perspectives, and then figure out what's the correct and right path forward. And so we think we came up with a good set of recommendations that have, in our opinion, created a great platform for us as a community to talk about what we need to do for all schools in Detroit and what is happening in Detroit, which is really simple, symbolic of what's happening in the rest of the state.
Charlonda, you must hear an awful lot from parents about what they like, what they don't like, and maybe that decision of how long am I going to stick in here with this system, and the knowledge of not knowing really what's going to happen next. What are you hearing from
Absolutely.
people?
I mean, this has been absolutely a nightmare for parents to navigate at different points, just going from one primary system to now having multiple systems with no coordination. And so at the jump of the coalition, we were very intentional about making sure that parent voice was also an imprint in this plan. We got out in the dead of winter and we hosted a series of listening sessions where parents came in and they talked about wanting good schools. Every parent wants a good school for their kid. They talked about wanting safe schools. They wanted, additional programming, challenges around special education, challenges around transportation. How do you navigate a system and really find the right choice for your child to be able to take advantage of it if you can't get to it? And so lots of impediments came up, and parents expressing hopelessness, frustration around one day this school is open, the next day it's closed, nobody's talking to me, and shifting our kids around. And that's not okay because it puts kids in a losing position.
All right, so we have this set of ideas, and then the governor came out with what his recommendations could be. And then now we've heard from Mike Duggan about some of the recommendations that he supports. So, Tanya, how do we work this all together, and then with our lawmakers in Lansing, to make sure that there's the funding to get it all done?
Right. Well, I think the good thing is that the coalition had some recommendations, the governor, the mayor, but they're not all that far apart. There are some places.
Where are some of the similarities?
One similarity that we all agree on is that we need the Detroit Education Commission, which is really an opportunity to rationalize this very eclectic and hectic school environment that Charlonda just spoke of, where we have more than 60 different school districts and over 100 different school buildings and operators that are happening in the city of Detroit. And 14 different entities can open and close schools without any coordination. So that's a great thing. So we're all harmonizing on that issue. Now we need to get the legislators to understand why this is important, that this is not an issue or effort to stop down choice or prevent parental choice. It's actually an enabler of choice and also an enabler of increasing high quality choice in the city of Detroit. And then I think many of us agree that we have to have a financial fix for the district. Now, how we go about it it's a difference, but I don't know if there is a lot of disagreement on that, right? The coalition has not come out specifically to say that we prefer the NUCO-OCO solution that the governor, but we're not opposed to it either. We think we have to have that played out. We have to see the numbers on it. And the mayor came out and said, we need to support and back it. And so I think that what we now need to do is pull those disparate ends together and tie it and knit it so that we come with a clear solution about where we want to go so that we're all rowing in the same direction.
But is there going to be a lot of convincing to do to convince people around the state, legislators from different districts, to say, you know what, money has to be used to put down the debt for the Detroit Public Schools that was run up during an emergency management that was clearly the state?
Right. Well, I think it's not just run up during the financial manager. The state actually allowed this. They signed off on it, so they're contractually liable. So regardless if you feel like this was going to happen anyway, or if the state did it, it doesn't matter. The state is contractually liable. And not only are we paying for it with the cost of our children's education, we're also subsidizing it already now. So we either are going to pay, that $600 million price tag, which is overwhelming, or we can look down the line of letting the system go out of business and think about what that $4 to $5 billion price tag is going to be to the state of Michigan. And we have to act now because we have too much loss in the process. So that's what I'd say.
Charlana, let me ask you this. I mean, when people take a look at these plans, and we're talking about a lot of logistics as well, and a lot of forming and how things are going to be run, and we haven't even really started to tackle what's happening inside the classrooms for a lot of kids. What are parents talking about what they'd like to see happening in a lot of these schools?
Right. I mean, one of the things, we didn't just talk to parents, we also talked to young people. So we feel like, between the listening sessions and the surveys, we had over 1,000 folks actually weigh in on this. And some of the things that parents immediately talked about was high quality teachers. The students shared that sentiment. The other thing that they talked about was wanting to make sure that their kids could be competitive via making sure that they could get the advanced placement courses, that they had teachers who were certified in those specific subjects. The relationship piece was very important, making sure that they were connected. They wanted teachers who cared about them. They wanted environments and cultures that made sense and that believed that their children could achieve, which was half the battle. One of the recommendations that is also in the plan, and it's not being talked about as much, but we made a recommendation around school leadership teams. When you look at progressive school districts across the country, like Chicago and like Denver and like Boston, they put school leadership teams in place because those are entities that can help set culture. They can help deal with some of the things that are happening within the classroom. It's representative of the students who get elected to that body by their peers in the school. For the older students, teachers are elected to it by their peers, and parents are elected to it by their peers. And so it's a representative group of folks who are working all year long to deal with things not just in the classroom, but things in the school building, in and around the school, bringing in partners, leveraging support that positions our kid for success.
Tanya, would you say that we're at a point in time that if we do not do something about the Detroit public schools and the Detroit school system in general and how we're educating our kids and the system that's surrounding it, that Detroit won't move forward, that schools is the key? Actually, we've done so much with the bankruptcy and people are talking about finances, but it's education that's really going to start to make a difference here.
Absolutely. And I often talk about it. We have a shared memory of doing something really hard, and that was the bankruptcy. Now we need to move that shared memory and use our civic muscle to solve the next big issue. And I think the next big issue for us is education. But it's not just Detroit. I mean, one of the reasons that the coalition put this plan out and said it's a pathway to fixing Michigan schools through Detroit is because Michigan schools are terrible. I mean, we just have dropped our performance, our academic achievement it's dropped so poorly, and it's eroding so quickly. In the last 10 years, we went from 13 in the state to 45th in the state in fourth grade proficiency for white students. So we're not just talking about the most disadvantaged students in the state. It means that our whole system is eroding beneath us, and we have to figure out pathways. And it's just the Detroit is canary in the mine.
It's absolutely an important point.
And one of the things I was going to say is that one of the things we talk about in Detroit Parent Network is that part of revitalization of Detroit is not just about the economic development, it's also about strengthening families. And so one way to strengthen families is to make sure that parents have job opportunities and all those other kinds of things. But it is absolutely education, having great education options that people can access, being communicated with, and not and doing this with the community, not just in a silo where we're making all the decisions, but giving them an opportunity to be part of the solution. And so that's a big piece for how this plan could work to bring the community together and to move us forward.
Absolutely. We're going to have to leave it there. Charlana Buckman and Tanya Allen, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
As we work to strengthen the primary school system, we must also focus on ways to help students be as successful as they transition from high school to post-secondary education. That's why the College Advising Corps was established, to be a guide through the college application process and work with low-income, first-generation college and underrepresented high school students as they embark on their journey toward higher education. They work closely with schools across the country to increase the number of students pursuing post-secondary education. We met with them in Detroit to learn more about their organization.
You think about how important it is to go to college, to think about post-secondary opportunity. Who better than a young person that just did it themselves? If you know anything about guidance counseling and school counseling in our country, the student-to-counselor ratio is about 1 to 500, which means our students get about 20 minutes a year with a counselor.
The College Advising Corps is an interesting program that provides college access services and guidance to students from low-income and underrepresented backgrounds.
We work full-time in those high schools, and our advisors live in the communities in which they serve, and they work alongside a great group of terrific teachers and counselors to get this work accomplished.
We're in 483 high schools this year. We'll never be in every high school, but if we can figure out what works together, we can get to every student in this country, and that's really an exciting thought. We're an evidence-based program that we care deeply about impact and measurement, but it also held up the idea that, again, this is about service. This is about caring about your brother and sister and your neighbor and your community, and making it a place like Lansing or Detroit or Flint really sing in terms of bringing opportunity and doing it together. I think the critical piece of our model is we do this with schools. We don't do this to schools. And so every advisor sets up with the counselor and the principal and their program director on our team a strategic plan for the school.
Everybody is going to college. That's awesome, and we're changing lives right here in the city of Detroit and across the state as well, making sure that we meet and exceed the goals that our school principals set. One of our schools in particular, Detroit Cristo Rey, we have an 100% college acceptance rate as well. So, I mean, 100%, you can't get more perfect than that.
The reason I wanted to be an advisor is because when I was going through the college application process, my parents didn't go to college in this country, so it was just very different. They didn't know the right steps to take, the right timelines for how to apply to college. And if it wasn't for my two big sisters, I have no idea what I would have done. I would have been lost in the process. So just having those mentors was so important to me. And thinking about these students, I knew that they were at a loss without someone to mentor them, advocate for them in the college application process. So I heard about this position and it sounded perfect for me. At Detroit Cristo Rey, we work so well with our faculty and staff. They're really supportive of the position that I'm in. There's myself and one other full-time college counselor, and we work with the teachers really closely. It's one-on-one and it's in a group setting. So we actually have a college readiness class that our seniors take first semester. So we see them every day just like any other class. We see all of the seniors in 2 different periods during the day. Then we also have a lot of one-on-one time with them. Besides that, I'm in my office and they're coming in and out throughout the day.
It went from I didn't think I can get in, or I don't think I can do it, I don't think I could fit in here, or I'm going to do well there, to I got in, I can do it, and I am going to go. My tuition is paid for.
So these students, for the most part, all except for very few of them, are going to be the first in their families to go to college. So the thing about helping these students with their applications, it's not just the physical, like helping them with their application, giving them fee waivers, it's changing the mindset of a family. Most of the families at our school are very supportive of their students going off to college, and that's why they put them at Detroit Cristo Rey. But a lot of the families are very hesitant for their children leaving, for their children maybe going to a major that they didn't pick for them. So it's really working with the student and working with the family to help them understand that going away to college is a good experience for these reasons, letting them choose their own major and their own path, why that's beneficial for the student. So that's been one of the biggest struggles, is helping the family understand the importance of college and the importance of maybe going away.
The students are very appreciative. They tell me thank you a lot, and I don't know what I would do without you. And even the teachers are like, you're such a great help. Administrators are cheering me on throughout the school year. But more important than me being appreciated is my students knowing that they're worth it.
Sometimes all it takes is the work of one individual, one role model or mentor to make a difference in a student's life. Patrick Luya is an intervention specialist at Rochester High School. His after-school program works with freshmen to help guide them during the transition from middle school to high school. And the time he spends with his students and the relationships they have make a huge impact.
The Falcon 9 program was designed at the beginning of the 2014 school year to help students coming from our 2 feeder middle schools and to help them transition easily into Rochester High School. The research has shown that transition from middle school to high school is the most important in a student's academic career. But what we really wanted to do is we wanted to focus on those students who might need a little extra help. So the basic premise of the program is to incorporate, some parent support, some teacher support, some student support, in order to make sure that that transition was beneficial to the students.
I'll help you go over it and we'll come up with a plan together.
There's a couple different things that we do with our Falcon 9 students. The main thing is academics, so we focus on the academics. So twice a week, the students meet in the Media Center of Rochester High School, and we have what's called a homework help program.
Okay, so let's solve it. Okay, so you went up 2, right? You went up to 2.
And we sit down and we look at, what missing assignments they may have in their current classes. They're able to work with those teachers, if they have questions in math or science that maybe mom or dad wouldn't be able to answer at home. So they get that extra support while they're here. And then we also do some mini lessons. We talk about ways to keep students organized. We talk about ways to study for tests, study for quizzes. We talk about different ways that they can get involved in the community. And the final thing that we do is that we take these students on field trips. We get them out there and, we like to reward them for their hard work. Probably the biggest way that I know it's working is they come back every week. And what we've seen is that students that do come on a regular basis, their grades have improved up to a whole grade in some instances. There has not been one disciplinary issue for any of the students that have attended so far this year. And those students are coming to school on a regular basis. Motivating students is one of the most difficult things anybody can do. And it doesn't matter if you're a mentor or a teacher or a parent. Finding ways to motivate students to be successful is extremely difficult. Every student I talk to, every student I touch base with, I know that if I give them 110%, they're going to rise to the occasion and they're going to be successful.
Well, this summer, Detroit Public Television launched Connected Learning, a program that allows young people to document their learning outside the classroom and apply their love of technology by collecting electronic badges to store in an electronic backpack. Joining me now is our partner, Ron Snyderman, Director of Education, Innovation, and Programming at the Community Telecommunications Network. Ron, thank you for being here.
Hi, Fred. How are you?
Well, this connected learning concept is something we're becoming more familiar with. It's really a way this new generation is learning to learn in a new way.
Absolutely. What's exciting about connected learning is it takes a lot of things that were going on in the past that John Dewey looked at, that Montessori looked at, and talked about what was important for learning. And this has become an effort that's going on nationally across the country where folks are looking at how you bring formal K-12 university education in line with the informal education world of museums and libraries and folks that are working in the field, so it becomes a lifelong learning opportunity for kids and adults to be able to choose things they like and want to be part of, and they can learn things about that and be able to grow and be able to spend time with different folks who are mentors, with peers who can really get excited about spending time in a particular project, and along the way be able to develop skills that are going to prepare them for not only today but for lifelong learning.
And like so many other things in our universe, it's been dramatically changed, increased by the digital revolution. So connected learning has more outlets, more portals, more places for children to learn.
Absolutely. One of the real exciting things about connected learning is by taking some of the old things that we knew worked with kids, where they had their interests, where they had projects, where they had things they could get excited about, and tie it into social networking. It opens up the whole world for them to be able to tie with experts from all around the world, to be able to work with them, to help them to learn about new and different things and different approaches, to be able to spend time with people who are doing things in the field and say, I want to do that when I grow up, and then learn skills around it to do that.
And the overriding principle is you don't have to learn in the traditional classroom. So to be specific about it, what are the kinds of things you do to earn an electronic badge, for example?
Well, in the Detroit Public Television project that we're working with you folks on, the DPTV has identified 4 different kinds of badges that folks can earn. It's a guided, a discovery, or an independent badge. And there's 19 organizations in Southeast Michigan who have agreed to be part of this, and they've identified activities that are going on this summer as part of your Summer to Learn project, where someone can go to the museum, can go to the nature center and do some particular activities, say I've done it, have it demonstrated to experts in the field, and then they can earn a badge that gets put into their backpack. So it helps to reflect what they've learned, and then they can show that to others through their electronic backpack and to folks in the K-12 world, as well as to potential employers where they've said, I have learned this, and here's how I learned it and where I learned it.
And it's especially important in the summer because it counteracts this learning, this other exploration. Maybe, you know, the falling away from the traditional studies and maybe the backsliding on particular subjects in the classroom during the school year.
Well, it's really fun because this gives the kids a chance to get out into the world, to see things that are going on, to visit places that they might not be able to visit during the regular school year, and be able to have some experiences there that can tie back to their educational experiences in the classroom. So it brings the school and the community together to really make a difference for learning, no matter where it needs to be or how folks can best achieve the things they want to work on.
And while we're aware that learning happens everywhere, what sorts of things should we be cautious about when we're taking on this independent study?
Well, you have to be motivated. You have to be excited about it. You have to make sure you pay attention to what are the expectations that the organization has, and then really be able to focus on doing some things and having fun while you're doing it, identifying some peers to do it with, and then really follow through to get it completed, because this is more self-guided learning than it is structured learning. So the youngster or the adult who's involved in the project has to have the intrinsic motivation to be able to do it and be involved.
Well, Ron Snyderman, we want to say thank you for being our partner in this project, and thank you once again for coming in and joining us here at Detroit Public TV.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that'll do it for American Graduate Pathways to Success. We learned here today that there are many people and organizations committed to building a brighter future for Michigan. You can become a role model to a student in your community and make a difference by becoming an American Graduate Champion. Or if you know someone who is working hard to help students, go online to myamericangraduate.org and nominate the champion in your life. For all of us here at Detroit Public Television, I'm Fred Nahat. Take care.
This program is part of American Graduate. Let's make it happen. A public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.